You're a third-rate duelist with a fourth-rate deck.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Finally, Konami has released a ban list for Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. I have been expecting this for so long, since I came back actually because the meta was so boring. I could not bring myself to play ranked anymore, but finally we have some changes. Now they did not nerf any skills, which I am very happy with because all the time Konami is notorious to nerfing skills because specific decks are doing good and not actually nerfing the deck. But this time they did nerf a lot of cards. This is not my first reaction to the ban list, by the way, we have already discussed it in my Discord, a link for you to join will be in the description. Let's start things off though with Invoked Cocytus, the card that actually got banned. And I'm pretty surprised about this, but it does make a lot of sense. First of all, Invoke doesn't immediately disappear just because of this ban, but because of a lot of meta decks being out of the tier list in the near future, after the ban list of course takes place, Cocytus would be a very hard monster to actually get out of the field. So I'm happy it's banned and no one can use it anymore. Next up we have limited to one Karakuri Merchant, and I am very happy about this, just because Karakuri had an amazingly overwhelming presence when going first. You could draw half your deck list and obviously play so many cards on the field, and I think now with Merchant limited to one, the deck will have many consistency problems, so I doubt if it's gonna see meta play anymore. Let's move on to the limited to 2 section now, and we're starting off with a deck I did not expect to see in the ban list, Dark Magician. Magician of Dark Illusion is here. Him being limited to 2 is not gonna be a big problem for Dark Magician decks, although we're gonna revisit the deck later on. And finally, of course, we have everyone's most hated deck, Shiranui. We have Solitaire, Sun Saga and Spirit Master limited to 2. And Shiranui as we know it is completely gone. It's gone out of the map. With these 3 cards added to the 2 limited section, Konami could just come out and say you're banned from playing Shiranui. Although you can kinda still play the deck, maybe with Vendredge or with the Control Zombie variant with Gozuki and Samurai Skull, although the deck is not gonna be nearly as good anymore. After the Shiranui distraction, we move on to more limited to 2 cards, and this time Crystons are getting hit. We get Cryston Citri, Scrap Recycler and Genex Controller. So a very hard hit for Crystons as well, but it is only fair because the other 2 tier 1 decks in Shiranui and of course Karakuri got a hard hit, so it's time for the 3rd tier 1 deck. In my opinion this is good because this is gonna move us away from the same old meta, and now these 3 decks will move away from tier 1, maybe even the tier list, and it is time for Konami to give us good meta boxes moving forward, so we the players can see a new fresh air in the meta as we have wanted for so long. The final card that is limited to 2 actually comes from Dragunities and is Senatus. I was actually surprised about this one as well, but Dragunity got a lot of playing time in the KC Cup, so I can totally see why this happens. If they did not get hit and the meta, let's say, did not change, I would totally move Dragunity in the tier list, in the monthly tier list for December. So I think moving Senatus to limited to 2 is not detrimental for the deck, but at the same time limits their options a bit, which is a good thing, especially after all this chaos going on right now. Moving on to the final section, limited to 3. The first card here is Invocation, and I think that was a long time coming. Alster the Invoker is now limited to 3 and also Invocation is limited to 3. So probably the ratio that players will actually now prefer will be 2 Alistair and 1 Invocation. That's still pretty good. I do not think that the Invoked engine is completely ruined, although with Cocytus now banned, their options are limited and they cannot be played with Element Sabers, Dark Magician and especially Cosmic Cyclone anymore, which is obviously a good thing. Next up we have Fusion Reserve, which also got me by surprise. The next card is actually way more important, and we have Magician Navigation of course. Now, Magician Navigation and Magician's Rod, because Magician's Rod was limited to 2, now moved to limited to 3 because of navigation, as the text reads. That is a big hit for Dark Magician, a pretty important hit, I would say. And actually the reason that happened is not, in my opinion, because we saw Dark Magician dominate the KC Cup, although we did have a lot of representation like Dragunity did, but it happened because if all of the other meta decks in the tier list actually got a big hit, Dark Magician would rise and dominate the meta once again, most likely at least, but this change will totally prevent that. In my opinion, with these changes in the Dark Magician core, Dark Magician players maybe will shift to playing the Ritual deck with Chaos Magician, but we will have to wait and see how the meta actually plays out, because at the end of the day, Dark Magician is a very resourceful archetype and maybe also get more support in the near future. And after the big consistency hit for Dark Magician, we have Assault Armor now being moved to limited to 3. I don't really think something big will come out of it. Lastly, we have some cards completely removed from the ban list, so they can now be played freely. First, we have Dragunity Divine Lance, which is a card I really don't like, although I do understand it coming off the ban list because now Senatus, a consistency hit, is in for Dragunity. I would say it would be totally unfair to super limit Dragunity after a good representation in a KC Cup, but now, after all these other nerfs, I think that Dragunity will most likely make the tier list for the month of December. Next up, we have Heroes Shadow Scout, which is a surprise. I haven't seen this card for so long. Obviously, Nightmares from stall decks. I don't think stall decks will fully be coming back, although we're gonna probably see some of them and they're not gonna be very pleasant to play against. And finally, we have Danpa Marksman for Hire. This is a very big change for fair hires. I'm not gonna say that they're gonna all of a sudden become meta again, but having Dampa off the limited 2 list is very important because it will help their power and to deal with all these super special summoning decks like Blackwings, who by the way got nothing, and I'm pretty worried if the next mini box is not a meta mini box, we're gonna see Blackwings dominate again, and this is not gonna be a very pleasant experience since it's another deck that has been meta for a long time. Danpa still very good for fair hire decks though. And these are my thoughts about the new ban list. I think it is a good change, but at the same time I am kind of worried about some decks that did not even get touched. We're gonna see how that goes, of course, when the ban list hits. My tier list will be made after the ban list becomes active, and of course I will be taking it into account, along with the newest mini box, which I think will be announced very soon. Share your thoughts for the ban list in the comments down below, leave a like for the video, and also don't forget to subscribe for more Duel Links content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.